How can we deal with the relationship between overpopulation and energy resources by Anouar and Mattias.
An unavoidable graphic must appear while talking about overpopulation, showing the world's demographic evolution since the 20th century. People are most of time afraid by this spectacular rising of human beings living on Earth. And that's all. People don't care more about that. Of course we have to care about it, especially when we know that we will reach the 8 billion people in the next decade. Are there enough resources to satisfy to everybody's needs on our little sweetie planet? How can we deal considering the energy requirements with these situations? Let's have a look on the causes and effects of overpopulation before we examine the solutions emerging, specifically the energy alternatives. First, we can easily see the rapid growth of the world's population as the result from a difference between the rate of birth and the rate of death. Until recently, birth rates and death rates were about the same, keeping the population stable. Families had many children, but lots of them died rapidly because of reasons that will be explained later. During the Industrial Revolution, great advances in science and technology were made. The success in reducing death rates was attributable to principal factors: increase in food production and system distribution, improvement in public health and medical technology, vaccines and antibiotics. All of these observations, of course, valuable to the many developing nations too. People were then able to fight and cure things that killed them in the past. In addition, because of the technology, people could produce more and different kinds of food. Gradually, these discoveries and inventions spread throughout the world, lowering death rates and improving the quality of life for most people. This is how the spectacular growth of population can be explained. We certainly can guess that rapid population growth will affect both the quality of life and the degree of human suffering on Earth. Unlike what we could believe, population growth fastest in the poor countries. Notice that high fertility, a factor that influences on the growth of population, is correlated with poverty and of course high childhood mortality rates, while low fertility rates are associated with good living conditions and low childhood mortality. But let's see from the engineer's point of view. Nowadays, the major challenge concerning engineering is to face the energetic requests of the growing population. Everybody knows that the society is highly dependent on oil for the energy production, though we know that this source of energy isn't renewable and will soon be lacking. We must find ways to substitute this source that are efficient and ecologic. We of course have to preserve the earth that has enough been exploited since the Industrial Revolution.
Man got used to energy. We need it for economic purposes and comfort, mainly, but the problem is that population is constantly growing. Then some of the energy resources will not be able to follow the demand, or they could simply damage more the earth by overusing them. So we are going to present many massive energy solutions which are already available or in development. When we say massive, we mean solutions that could provide energy to a huge number of people. First of all, let's talk about the production of electricity that evolved during the last century. At the beginning, coal plants were used. It consisted of heating high-pressure water in a closed circuit, which move a turbine thanks to the pressure producing electricity. Coal plant produces about 300 megawatts, but the efficiency, which is 40%, is not very good if we define the efficiency as the ratio of the electric energy on the heat produced. And with the time, coal's price was rising, and this type of plant produces a lot of pollution because of the combustion. That's why coal plants are not sustainable. Coal plants are still very used in big countries such as USA, India or China. Of course, we can find plants that use other fossil fuels. By after, with the evolution of nuclear physics, man was able to build nuclear plants which followed the principle of fission. Fission is the separation of a heavy element by colliding it with neutrons. Then two lighter elements are created and some neutrons are released. The energy produced in the process comes from kinetic energy of the elements and electromagnetic radiations. This energy is collected thanks to a high-pressured water circuit and a turbine as in a coal plant. In fact, a nuclear plant produces more energy than a coal plant, which is about 1000 megawatts. The efficiency is still 40% as it uses a turbine, but it also produces nuclear wastes, which are harmful for the environment. But also, if someone finds how to replace the turbine to transform the nature of the energy, it could help a lot. In fact, a lot of it is lost because of dissipation. So if another process or mechanism is found, it could raise the efficiency and so produce more electricity. According to the two previous types of plants, turbine is an important problem to solve as it does not allow to collect all the energy produced because of its dissipation. But engineers do not have any real solutions. All they can do is optimizing the conditions, which increase the efficiency of some percents. So researchers are working on a new type of plant which uses nuclear fusion. It is about blending two light elements into a heavy one, and this process creates a lot more energy than a nuclear fission. Fusion plants are still in development and uses as elements deuterium and tritium, two isotopes of hydrogen. Deuterium can be found in seawater with a concentration of 33 milligrams per cubic meters, but for tritium we only have traces on Earth, so we must produce it. The real difficulties of this process is about approaching the two elements which are repulsed by each other naturally, and high temperatures are needed. The plant in development is called ITER, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, where several big powers are implied like Korea, Japan, the European Union, China, India, the USA and Russia. This technology is very promising because it produces less nuclear wastes than fission and produces a lot more energy. Of course, this solution is difficult to apply to a car. Some companies have been working on new projects. As it is difficult to replace oil, companies try to combine it with other technologies. For example, we assisted to the rise of hybrid cars, which are cars with oil engine combined to an electric engine, and this allows the driver to reduce his consumption and then preserve the resource. But reducing the consumption is not a very good solution. In fact, it only postpones the deadline, and that is what car companies are now focused on. Reducing the oil consumption of their cars for ecological purposes, and not proposing solutions to deal with the future oil shortages because the alternative is difficult to find. So they propose electric cars, hybrid cars and new technologies to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, and so to reduce the consumption. But real alternatives to oil must be found, and a lot of engineers are working on it. And the most promising substitute to oil is hydrogen. The process implies a cell where a chemical reaction with oxygen and hydrogen produces water and energy. So it sounds to have a lot of potential because hydrogen can be found in abundance in the water, and in addition the process producing only water is environmentally friendly. However, the problem is that we do not have the solutions to produce efficiently hydrogen, and moreover, the cell needs platinum electrodes, which makes it very expensive, and then not accessible to everyone. Therefore, a lot of companies are trying to solve these issues because they know it is potentially the resource that could replace oil.
Of course, thanks to the environmental awareness that we have known the last decades, a lot of people are changing their habits to reduce their energy consumption. So in some way, ecological purposes can help us to deal with the problem of energy resources.
Some of the alternative energy resources are water turbines, wind turbines, and solar panels.
In fact, we can consider that renewable energies could complete massive energy resources because, let's be realistic, it is impossible to live in a world where only renewable energies are used. For instance, we need 1,000 of wind turbines to produce the same amount of energy of a nuclear plant, and for the moment, the biggest wind turbine farm is composed of only 91 turbines. However, these solutions must not be neglected. As a conclusion, is there any real solution to face the population growth? Anyway, we still don't have any solution that copes with the growing population and the environment. However we produce energy, we still cannot guarantee both aspects, that are environment and efficiency. Finally, aren't we heading to an unavoidable world